After college graduation, Michael wanted to go whitewater rafting in the Rocky Mountains. I told him the rapids were too dangerous there, with steep drops and fierce currents. Michael agreed not to go. The others who went ended up capsizing. One drowned, another got a lung infection, and someone else suffered brain damage. Years later, Michael and I got married and had a child. The day after I gave birth, when I was too weak to get out of bed, Michael held my head in the toilet bowl until I drowned. If you hadn't stopped me from going rafting that day, Emma wouldn't have died. Apparently, he had always resented me for preventing him from going rafting, blaming me for his childhood sweetheart's death. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day he asked me about going rafting. Baby! My friends and I are planning to go whitewater rafting in the Rocky Mountains to celebrate my birthday. I heard it's the most thrilling rafting course in the country. Will you come with me? Michael Evans' face suddenly appeared before me, and a surge of suffocating fear instantly overwhelmed me. I took deep breaths, making sure I wasn't actually suffocating before slowly calming down. The rafting brochure was still on the table, clearly stating, "This course has a 1,000-foot drop. Not recommended for those with fear of heights or heart conditions." Sarah, we spent so long finding the perfect birthday gift for Michael. It's guaranteed to be thrilling and fun. Besides, Michael loves adventure, and you wouldn't want to ruin his birthday, would you? Seeing my silence, Emma batted her big eyes, trying to manipulate me. Then she threw Michael a flirtatious look, and they started making eyes at each other right in front of me. In my previous life, I had naively believed they were just childhood friends. I dug my nails into my palm, trying to maintain my composure. It was the same in my previous life, both of them trying hard to convince me to go whitewater rafting. I refused. "Michael, the drop is too steep. The boats could easily capsize, and since it's a new rafting site with loose management, if someone drowns, rescue might not arrive in time. If this were in the city, it would be different, but in the mountains, you could scream your lungs out and no one would hear you." Emma's face darkened instantly. "Sarah, what are you implying? If you don't want to go, just say so. We spent so much time planning this perfect birthday gift for Michael. How dare you criticize our intentions?" Michael looked unhappy too. "Sarah, Emma's been my friend since childhood. She wouldn't harm me." I ignored Michael's instinctive defense of Emma, apologized to her, and pulled Michael out of the restaurant. Behind us, Emma muttered dissatisfied. "Coward, if you won't go, I'll go by myself." Back at our apartment, I gathered a bunch of news articles about rafting accidents and sent them to Michael. Though reluctant, after seeing the news about people dying in rafting accidents, he finally decided not to go. The day Emma's group went rafting, disaster struck. Just as I had warned, their boat capsized, and the rescue team happened to be slacking off, smoking deep in the forest. Emma couldn't swim. She drowned on the spot, while others were either infected with pneumonia or suffered brain damage. Michael hugged me with relief. "Thank you, Sarah. If it weren't for you, I might be dead too." Later, we finished graduate school and got married. A year after marriage, I gave birth to our beautiful baby. Touching our baby's soft cheeks, I thought this gentle, stable life would continue forever. But as soon as we got home, Michael dragged me to the bathroom. Before I could speak, he grabbed my neck and forced my head into the toilet bowl. Our baby seemed to sense something wrong and started crying loudly. I struggled desperately, but choking on water, I couldn't even ask why. Michael's grip only tightened, and I quickly suffocated to death. If you hadn't stopped me from going rafting that day, Emma wouldn't have died. "Die, you bitch." The last words I heard before death were Michael's vicious curse. After my death, Michael took our baby back to my family home, and after successfully inheriting my family's property, he threw my parents and child out on the street. My poor elderly parents, who should have been enjoying their retirement, ended up freezing to death on the streets along with my child. Thinking of this, I suddenly looked up at them. "Michael, it's your birthday. Of course it's your choice. I'll support whatever you decide." I answered with a smile. "Go ahead, this time I'll let you have exactly what you wish for." Michael nodded with satisfaction. "I knew my baby would understand." Emma's face darkened. Sarah, I thought you hated adventure sports? You're not just pretending to make Michael happy, are you? Then she grabbed Michael's sleeve. If Sarah doesn't really want to go, we shouldn't force her. The rest of us can go with you. Such obvious manipulation. Not at all. I'm thrilled. We'll go home and pack now. See you tomorrow, I said, pulling Michael away, catching Emma stomping her foot in frustration from the corner of my eye. Back home, seeing me eagerly packing, Michael actually became worried. Sarah, the place is pretty remote. Don't you think it might be too dangerous? Look at this. He handed me his phone showing the rafting company's promotional video. The raft plunged almost vertically down a 1,000-foot drop, disappearing into the spray before finally resurfacing long moments later. Comments scrolled across the top of the video. Morning rafting, afternoon recovery, evening funeral, midnight cremation. New grave by dawn. Looks dangerous because it is dangerous. Safety nets downstream make body recovery easier and convenient for family identification. What a unique way for companies to downsize. The strong float up, the unlucky float down. Run! The river god and death are competing for business. Honey, didn't you say you wanted to do something challenging for your birthday this year? This is definitely challenging. Besides, if they're operating legally, they must ensure safety. Look at all those staff watching, nothing will go wrong. I encouraged him sweetly. If you're really scared, I can call Emma and tell her we're not going. I reached for my phone. No. I'll go. Michael snatched my phone away. Waking up in the middle of the night, I found the bed empty beside me. Getting up to check, I found Michael video chatting happily with someone on the balcony. How did I never notice their affair in my previous life? Laugh while you can, Michael. This time, I'll personally send you and your precious childhood sweetheart to hell. On the bus to the rafting site, Emma was still causing drama. First, she claimed motion sickness to avoid the back seat, making me leave Michael's side while she took my place. During the ride, she kept accidentally falling against Michael. I closed my eyes pretending not to see, but Emma wouldn't leave me alone. Sarah, you have to sign a liability waiver before rafting. If you're scared, you can still get off now. She turned around, her eyes full of smugness and challenge. All right, pull over and I'll get a cab back. I took off my headphones and looked at her seriously. No. We're almost there, and I don't feel safe letting you go alone. Michael quickly stopped me. Yeah, Sarah, don't listen to Emma's nonsense, it's not scary at all. Michael's friends chimed in. I just feel like Emma doesn't like me. I agreed to go, but she keeps warning me it's unsafe and unsuitable for me. I spoke with a hint of hurt in my voice. Emma, I understand if you don't like me. I can leave if you want. There's no need to keep reminding me that I'm not fit for rafting. I bit my lip, tears glistening in my eyes. I know you've always looked down on me, thinking I'm not good enough for Michael. If you didn't really want me to join, I can step back. If she wanted to play the manipulative game, I could play too. Emma, apologize to my girlfriend right now. Michael shot Emma a warning look. Yeah, Emma, look how upset you've made Sarah. Apologize. Michael's friends joined in. Emma pouted unhappily but forced out a rough sorry. I put my headphones back on without responding. Emma and Michael continued flirting shamelessly in the front, trying to minimize the space between them. The mountain scenery was beautiful, with towering trees and endless peaks. When we reached the entrance and actually had to sign the liability waiver, Michael hesitated again. Will we really die? They actually want us to sign a waiver? His hand holding the pen hovered over the form for a long time. Don't worry, Michael. This is the birthday gift I specially picked for you. Trust me, it'll be thrilling. Emma deliberately pressed close to him, her curves nearly touching Michael's body. Yeah, Mike, it's your birthday and you just got into grad school. Let's celebrate with something exciting. His friend patted his shoulder. Sarah, do you want to go? Michael looked at me uncertainly. After years together, I could tell he didn't want to go and was just hoping I'd say it first. Looking at his pitiful expression, I felt a moment of doubt. What if this time his own fear of rafting would change the outcome? Then I remembered our previous life. After we both got into the Ivy League graduate program, Michael had tentatively asked if I'd consider giving up my spot to apply to some community college instead. I later learned it was in Emma's hometown where she planned to study. On his birthday night, he'd absently blown out the candles, repeatedly checking his phone while claiming his academic advisor was messaging him. I hadn't noticed then, when he thanked me for stopping him from going rafting, the hatred in his bloodshot eyes. After marriage, he'd refused to sleep with me, claiming he was busy with work. I found Emma's photos hidden in his study. On the anniversary of Emma's death, he came to my room drunk, which led to our first child. When I was weak in the hospital after giving birth when I needed him most, he hired a nurse and never visited. I thought he was busy, not realizing he was just avoiding me because I reminded him of dead Emma. And then there was the moment he forced my head into the toilet bowl, viciously blaming me for stopping him from going rafting. I snapped back to reality. Michael, everyone puts so much thought into celebrating your birthday. As your girlfriend, of course I'll join you. Go ahead and sign, we still need to get our gear. I smiled sweetly at him. Under everyone's urging, he finally signed and joined us on the shuttle bus up the mountain. But more problems arose when we were getting our equipment. I had done my research and wore long sleeves and pants, covering myself completely. Besides the facility's helmets and life jackets, I'd invested in expensive protective gear, elbow pads, knee pads, everything. Emma pointed at my fully equipped self and laughed loudly. Sarah, you're way too cautious. You look like a middle-aged mom in all that gear. Michael also looked at me disapprovingly. Emma dressed provocatively, a tiny tank top and short shorts, showing off her fair skin, drawing many tourist stares. Emma was clearly pleased. Michael prefers my style. Sister Sarah should learn. What nonsense are you saying? Michael hurriedly tried to cover Emma's mouth, afraid I'd catch on. Emma wanted to stand out, so she wore a cute helmet she bought online. To show off her figure, she didn't even fasten the life jacket straps. One glance told me her flimsy helmet didn't even have safety certification. If she hit anything while rafting, it would shatter instantly. Michael noticed too. He looked between Emma and me, then said, Sarah, why don't you swap your knee pads and helmet with Emma? Even though I was prepared for his shamelessness, I was still shocked. Michael Evans, I spent nearly $900 on this safety gear. Why should I give it to her? Because her face is bigger than mine, Michael brazenly replied. Sarah, you can swim, Emma can't. Even if we capsize, you can save yourself. She's my childhood friend. Can't you help her out of consideration for me? I rolled my eyes, once again feeling how stupid I was in my previous life. These two deserve to be locked in together forever. If you're so concerned about her, why don't you buy her gear yourself? The facility provides helmets and life jackets, but she chose not to wear them properly. If you're worried, buy her knee pads yourself, the store is right there. Pointed at the store sign. Emma looked at Michael emotionally. You still care about my safety after all these years. You're so good to me. Michael's face flushed red then white, but he finally bit his lip and took Emma to the store. I continued adjusting my knee and wrist guards. Knowing Michael, he wouldn't spend hundreds of dollars on gear that would only be used once. Besides, everything of his was funded by me. Both their families struggled financially, and he had too much pride to work part-time jobs. With his $500 monthly allowance, he would have starved if I hadn't covered all his living expenses. Sure enough, after much dawdling, Michael and Emma returned. Emma's expression was sour as she held what Michael bought her, a $5 disposable raincoat. The rest of us tried hard not to laugh. What's so funny? Michael bought this because he's worried I'll catch a cold, Emma said defiantly. I thought his love for her would be grander, but apparently it was only worth $5. When it was time to get on the rafts, Emma grabbed Michael, who was about to sit with me. Michael, can you ride with me? I'll only feel safe with you nearby. Michael seemed hesitant, considering I was officially his girlfriend. Sarah, please? You've been with Michael for years. What's 2 more hours apart? Let me have him just this once. Emma turned to me pleading. Sarah, you're a good swimmer. You'll be fine with anyone. I should stay with Emma in case the raft capsizes. I can help her then. Michael thought his excuse sounded perfectly reasonable. I don't mind. I smiled. I truly didn't mind. After all, whether they'd survive was questionable at this point. Emma excitedly pulled Michael onto her chosen raft, while I joined his friends on another. While waiting to start, I noticed Emma posting on her private social media account. Finally getting a romantic trip with my man. She posted a photo of her and Michael, their faces pressed close together, beaming at the camera. Michael had also posted something not visible to my main account, taking my beloved rafting today. Emma responded with a shy emoji in the comments. I glanced back at them. They were practically melting into each other, their eyes full of desire. Emma appeared after Michael and I started dating. I always thought she was just his childhood friend, so I never questioned it. Michael said she had a tough life, losing her parents young and working hard to get into college. I felt sorry for her and tried to include her in everything I could. Who knew they were actually lovers who'd already had their wedding ceremony back home? Michael only dated me for my money. They had planned to squeeze me dry before getting married, but the rafting accident derailed their plans. When I was dying in my previous life, Michael gleefully told me about his sweet memories with Emma. Only in death did I realize I'd spent years funding my boyfriend's affair. Thinking of this, I turned away, pretending not to see their flirting. The first stretch of rafting was relatively calm. I had to admit, the natural river scenery was breathtaking: emerald waters, dense forests, and crisp mountain air. Sarah, I told you there's no need for all that gear. The current's so gentle. Emma's raft was slightly ahead of ours. She gave me a contemptuous look before taking off her life jacket. In the calm resting area, Emma and Michael started a water fight. Soon Emma's thin clothes were completely soaked, clinging to her curves. Michael's gaze changed instantly. Just then, our rafts entered a cave, pitch black inside. He used his body to block my view, pulled Emma close, and kissed her deeply. Though I couldn't see clearly, the sound of their kissing echoed distinctly in the quiet cave. Even Michael's friends heard it, awkwardly turning their heads away. If we hadn't been there, they probably would have gotten even more intimate right then and there. As the kiss ended and our rafts emerged from the cave, Emma casually fixed her hair, but her swollen lips betrayed her. Sarah, isn't this rafting trip fun? She looked at me challengingly. I just smiled without responding. The real show was yet to come. The early stretch was just child's play. Soon we reached a section with an almost 250-foot drop. Rapid currents, countless bends, plus the drop, we'd reached 1/3 of the course. Emma, wanting to stay close to Michael, completely ignored the safety instructor's direction to sit at opposite ends of the raft. When a huge wave hit, all our rafts capsized. Help! Help! The water wasn't even deep, only reaching Emma's chest. Yet she splashed around pretending to be helpless, acting like she was about to drown. The rest of us had fallen in too, all trying to reach our rafts. I accidentally swallowed some water and started coughing. Michael didn't even notice me. He swam straight to Emma, helped her to their raft, and lifted her aboard. Ironically, Michael only knew how to swim because I'd worried about situations like this and spent thousands on the best swimming instructor for him. Now he was using the swimming skills I'd paid for to save another woman. That was terrifying. If Michael hadn't been there, I could have died. Emma collapsed limply into Michael's arms, trembling. Michael finally remembered me. Seeing me still coughing, he awkwardly said, "Sarah, Emma's just scared because she's not used to the water. Don't mind us, we're just friends." "Why are you coughing?" Emma suddenly remembered we had an audience and laughed nervously. "Yeah, what Michael said." "Don't be jealous, Sarah." "Why would I be? You're childhood sweethearts, I understand your playfulness," I said calmly. That was really dangerous though. I swallowed water myself. Good thing Michael saved you in time. Are you okay, Emma? I'm fine, I'm fine. Emma waved her hand awkwardly. Our friends were giving me sympathetic looks, probably all aware of what Michael had done. But I remained unconcerned, gripping the raft's handles tightly. The big wave was coming. Sure enough, the next moment our rafts reached an almost vertical drop, plunging straight down. Emma's scream pierced the air. Judging by our falling time, this section had at least a 600-foot drop. Massive water crashed down from above, instantly flooding our rafts. Before we could bail out the water, the raging current slammed our rafts toward the steep cliff wall. With a tremendous crash, Emma and Michael were thrown from their raft by the massive impact. Our raft capsized too, but since Emma's raft hit the rocks first, we only collided with their raft. We weren't thrown out, just flipped over and pulled into the current. Emma and Michael weren't so lucky. After being thrown out, they were flung to the other side of the river. Emma's cheap helmet hit the rocks and shattered instantly. Flying fragments cut her face, turning the water red with her blood. But Emma couldn't even cry out in pain. Without her life jacket, she'd swallowed several mouthfuls of water in the rapids and was already struggling to breathe. Michael desperately clung to a boulder with one hand while holding Emma with the other, screaming, "Help! Someone help us!" Just like in my previous life, the safety staff had wandered off. It wasn't a weekend, so there weren't many visitors. We were closest to them, but everyone was struggling to save themselves, let alone help those two. I hit the cliff wall too, but thanks to my wrist and knee guards, I wasn't injured. Through assessing the situation, I calmly taught others to take deep breaths and let their bodies float naturally. Then, I instructed everyone to protect their heads and follow the current downstream until we reached calmer waters to get back on the rafts. As our group drifted downstream, Michael used all his strength to pull Emma close, then took off his life jacket and helmet to give to her. I calmly glanced at them once, then closed my eyes waiting for the impact of the next drop. I didn't warn Michael that in such rapid currents, even strong swimmers could easily get into trouble without the protection of a life jacket and helmet. We all managed to get back on our rafts at the next buffer zone. Michael and Emma were also swept into the same area. Unfortunately, Emma had been thrashing around in Michael's arms out of fear, causing him to lose focus. His leg got deeply wedged between rocks. The spot where he was trapped was right below the dam, with rushing water constantly pounding over him. Emma was relatively unharmed, floating safely to us thanks to the life jacket. "Sarah, get help. My leg's stuck." Michael screamed in agony. The rock trapping him looked incredibly solid, and with wave after wave crashing over him, Michael had already swallowed several mouthfuls of water. The safety staff finally showed up, frowning at Michael's state. "Why aren't you wearing a life jacket or helmet?" The waiver clearly states the facility isn't responsible for accidents caused by not wearing safety equipment. "My face got cut even wearing your facility's helmet. I'm going to sue for compensation." Before Michael could speak, Emma jumped in anxiously. Michael's expression changed. After a moment of silence, he growled through gritted teeth, "Just get me out first. We can discuss everything else once I'm on shore." The safety staff swam to the rock above Michael and tried pulling him up by his arms. "Stop. It hurts. My leg's going to break." Michael howled in pain. The staff tried another position, attempting to pull Michael out sideways, but the rocks held firm without any sign of giving. Through struggling for about 15 minutes, the staff was drenched in sweat, but Michael's leg hadn't budged an inch. "Help! I don't want to die here." The intense pain in his leg and the relentless waves finally made Michael feel real fear. "Emma Thompson, this is all your fault. If you hadn't chosen this wild rafting spot, Michael wouldn't be stuck." One of Michael's friends couldn't stay quiet anymore. "Yeah. If you hadn't been thrashing around, Michael would have been fine." Another friend in a yellow shirt joined in. Seeing everyone turn against her, Emma covered her mouth and started sobbing pitifully. "I didn't mean to. I just wanted Michael to have an exciting experience." Michael saw this and somehow still had energy to comfort her. Emma, it's not your fault. I don't blame you. Though his voice had weakened considerably, clearly running out of strength. Emma finally stopped crying, looking at Michael gratefully. Thank you for understanding me. I just called emergency services, but we're pretty remote. It'll probably take several hours for help to arrive. Let's all try to pull him out together. I waved my phone. Can I stay here? I'm not strong enough to help anyway, so I'll just wait on shore. When Michael's friends were about to swim toward him, Emma spoke up weakly. Under everyone's contemptuous stares, she made her way to shore alone. Michael's face instantly darkened. During the hours waiting for rescue, we tried many methods. First, we all worked together trying to move the rock, using every ounce of strength we had. But this rock was naturally formed. Unmoved by years of water flow, our strength was far from enough. Someone else had an idea, using smaller rocks to strike the large one, hoping to break it and free Michael. We quickly gathered rocks and started hitting, but after just a few strikes, Michael cried out in pain. Stop. Every hit sends shockwaves through my leg. It hurts too much. We climbed onto shore and tried pulling Michael up together. Not only did we fail, but we nearly got thrown off ourselves from the force. Michael's foot had started bleeding from the strain. Especially when I cried. What do we do, Michael? I should have stopped Emma when she suggested rafting. I should have made her keep her life jacket on when she took it off. With your leg trapped like this, limited blood circulation is the least worry. If this goes on too long, the tissue could die. His face was filled with despair and anger. Emma Thompson, this is all your fault. How dare you just stand there watching? He shouted at Emma, all previous gentleness gone from his voice. It's your own leg. I didn't hold a knife to your throat and force you to come. How can you blame me? Emma shot back defiantly. Michael quickly fell silent, having no strength left to argue. After being submerged in the cold water for so long, Michael rapidly lost body heat, starting to shiver violently, his skin turning deathly pale. Finally, just before he lost consciousness completely, the rescue team arrived. The rescue team brought professional equipment to try expanding the space where Michael's leg was trapped. But as soon as the drill made a hole in the rock, Michael felt the vibration and rock fragments dug deeper into his calf. Michael screamed, "Stop! My leg, it's going to break. If this method doesn't work, we'll have to try cutting through the rock with a saw." The rescue team worked with the saw for hours, but most of the rock was underground. It was impossible to cut through quickly. The rescue team leader looked grave. "Son, you have two options. Either we drill holes around the trapped area to widen the gap, which will hurt more than before, or we amputate your leg." No. I just got into an Ivy League graduate program. I can't lose my leg. Please save me. Michael broke down, desperately clutching the rescuer's clothes. If you stay in the water any longer, hypothermia and dehydration will kill you. The rescuer's words silenced Michael. Then please drill the holes. After a long pause, Michael chose his fate in a barely audible voice. Each drill sound increased his agony. More blood flowed from his foot and leg, turning the surrounding water red. But his voice grew weaker as severe hypothermia began to take his consciousness. After the rescue team's relentless efforts, they finally freed Michael's foot. But it was an unrecognizable mass of flesh and blood. We frantically lifted the unconscious Michael onto a stretcher and into the ambulance, leaving the dangerous mountain area together. Emma followed us. Only then did I notice how deep the cuts on her face were, likely infected. She had started running a fever. We were all taken to the hospital for examination. Fortunately, the rest of us were fine and could leave. But Michael's right leg, due to prolonged circulation loss and poor water quality causing infection, had suffered nerve death. Amputation was the only option. Outside the operating room, his parents were devastated. His mother fainted several times. Emma's face was ruined too. The infection and delayed treatment meant scarring was inevitable, even after surgery to remove the dead tissue. Her desperate cries echoed through the hospital. I took a taxi home that night. In this life, Mom and Dad were still alive and well. Tears welled up in my eyes as I hugged Mom, not caring about my wet clothes. Mom, Dad, I missed you so much. Silly girl, we just saw you 2 days ago. Did the rafting muddle your brain? Mom held me tenderly while Dad tried to comfort me. Who made our little princess upset? I buried my face in Mom's embrace and finally let out all the pain from both lives. On university registration day, Michael didn't show up. Course not, he was still in the hospital. After missing registration, the university revoked his admission. Later, Michael's mother came to see me, pushing Michael in a wheelchair, demanding I take responsibility. I simply showed them the video of Michael and Emma's wedding ceremony. Annie, I know everything. If you insist I take responsibility, I'll post this video online. Let everyone see how your good son was two-timing. Michael's face turned ghostly pale. Finally, he and his mother left, their faces full of resentment. I successfully completed my graduate studies and took over the family business. Emma was forced to marry Michael under pressure from his parents. After losing his leg, Michael fell into depression, drinking daily. When drunk, he'd abuse Emma, blaming her for taking him rafting and ruining his life. Emma resented Michael for not earning money, constantly calling him useless. When he hit her, she'd throw things at him. The once loving couple had become bitter enemies. Later, I received a strange phone call. Sarah, why didn't you stop me from going rafting this time? I remember in the last life you stopped me and we lived happily together. Why didn't you stop me? It was Michael, his voice manic. Michael, you only remember half the story. What about the rest? We were happy, I even gave you a child. But what did you do? You always blamed me for Emma's death. Because of her, you drowned me in a toilet. Then you seized my family's assets, leaving my parents and child to starve to death. Why should I help you? In your last life, you always regretted not going rafting. This time, I just granted your wish. This is the path you chose, so stay locked with Emma forever. I spoke through gritted teeth, remembering my tragic end in the previous life. No. Sarah. You're the one I love. After marriage, Emma showed her true colors, gambling and dancing all day, losing all my parents' money. She constantly insults me, calling me useless. I know I was wrong, Sarah. Please give me another chance. Michael sobbed earnestly on the phone. In this life, enjoy the path you chose. I hung up, feeling satisfied knowing he was suffering. The next day, police called to inform me that Michael was dead. Emma had accumulated massive gambling debts, and loan sharks came knocking, causing Michael's parents to die from anger and stress. Unable to bear Emma's constant abuse and the loan shark's threats, he secretly kept a knife. When Emma came close, he stabbed her to death. Then he used the same knife to end his own life. After giving my statement at the police station, I received a message from Mom. Come home quickly, I made your favorite sweet and sour ribs. I stretched, enjoying the perfect sunshine outside. And my life was just beginning.